All right.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Average Reviews. I'm Jonathan, and tonight we're diving headfirst into the second installment of our childhood fantasy series. And oh boy, this one's a little different. We're talking about The Dark Crystal, Jim Henson's 1982 cult classic that scarred some kids for life and enchanted others forever.
Yeah, this is not your Muppets Take Manhattan. The Dark Crystal was Jim Henson and Frank Oz saying, what if we traumatized an entire generation with puppets? And mission accomplished. It's wild, it's dark, it's beautiful, and it's, well, we'll get into what we think about it later.
And we've got company tonight. Joining us is Evan from the Kilt and the Redneck Podcast. He's bringing his own brand of fun into this fantasy fever dream, so buckle up.
Oh, thank you for having me, fellas.
Yeah, man.
Hey, I get a little clap. I was hoping that I'd get a little clap, but not as much of a clap after that beginning song. It always just pumps me up and gets me ready to go in for the average.
Is jamming.
It's a fun little
It is. I was doing a little jig and a little dance. I was like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Some quick film facts before we start tearing into this gem, if you will. It took 5 years to make this movie. That's right, 5 years of designing every puppet, every set piece, and every strange Skeksis scream. Not a single human appears on screen. I'm not sure about this fact. We'll get into that. I think this is a lie. It's all puppetry, animatronics, and artistry. Critics were confused at the time of this movie's release. It was not a box office smash, but over the years it has become a cult classic that even inspired a Netflix prequel years later, decades later.
Absolutely. And that's what makes tonight fun, because we're not just rewatching childhood favorites. We're looking at how they hold up, how they hit different now that we're older, and why The Dark Crystal is either a fantasy masterpiece or, well, a very elaborate nightmare.
And hey, while we've got you here, don't forget to check out my book, Like, Comment, and Survive. It's a found... Ooh, Jonathan got his copy. Mine's up there. I meant to grab
it. It came in the mail today while I was at work.
Oh, perfect. I think it's better than my first one. Much better. But it's a found footage novel.
I was just about to grab mine.
There's the first. It's a found footage novel inspired not just by movies, but by decades of paranormal investigators, from ghost hunters on Sci-Fi Channel to modern day YouTube paranormal investigators. It's perfect if you want something to keep you up at night after watching Skeksis the movie.
So grab your crystal shards, channel your inner Gelfling, and let's talk about The Dark Crystal live right now.
All right, here we go. Let's get into this. The story, gentlemen. This was a first-time watch for me. Again, Time Bandits was a first-time watch. Oh. This is a first-time watch. I'm going to let you guys go first because
Evan, why don't you go ahead and start us off, buddy?
All right. So when I saw this so long ago, I guess when I was a kid, I think probably about 4 or 5, I just thought this was one of the coolest movies. I didn't know anything about story. I didn't know anything about plot. I was just like, this is awesome. I loved The Labyrinth. Jim Henson, of course, with that one. But I was like, watching it this time, and I was like, it's kind of hit or miss. You know, it just kind of had its moments that it drug on. There weren't areas that I was like super enthralled in. Like I wasn't just like super into the story, but the story, how it has to work together. If you look away, you're not going to understand what's going on in between the Gelflings, between the Skeksis, the Mystics. You're not going to catch it if you don't know what happens.
What's his name? Zigzag? What?
Talk about the little dog-like puppet,
little dog?
Fizzgig?
Yeah, the dog character.
Fizzgig. Yeah.
Fizzgig. Yeah. Zigzag.
Good old Zigzag, you know.
Good old Zigzag. Check out the
Now,
zigzags on. Never mind. Go ahead.
I don't have any clue what that is. I guess it's a dog, but when it starts screaming at times, it's like, what the hell is that?
Kind of terrifying.
Yeah. Like my wife had never seen it before, so when she's watching it right next to me, she's like, what the fuck? Excuse my language, but she was just like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. I liked it though. You know, growing up with it, I'd still consider the story plot. Am I allowed to give the score on it right now, or do I wait till you guys are done?
We'll drop it at the end after we talk about it.
Got it, baby.
All right,
Yeah.
bet. So basically, yeah, it's a weird story. There's a lot going on there, visually stunning, but a very interesting story overall. You've got this planet, there's this distant world away where land is in harmony and everything is kind of run by this one group, and they've got this magic crystal. It becomes fractured, and the fracture causes a split in these entities that look after the crystal, resulting in the mystics and the Skeksis. So you've got the light and dark side split of these beings, where you got one that goes off the mountains, these nice gentle creatures, and then you've got these evil bird-like nasty Skeksy bastards who just are greedy and take over the crystal, and the land falls to pieces. 1,000 years of turmoil. Gelflings, there's this prophecy that Gelfling will come to reunite the shards of the crystal to bring harmony back to the land. And the Skeksis are so afraid of this that they go out and they annihilate. They commit genocide of the Gelfling race. But unbeknownst to them, there's a survivor by the name of Jen, this little male Gelfling who is raised by the mystics. He learns to read, to write, numbers, and he's got this whole grip on knowledge, which is fantastic. But sad because he's the only remaining member of his race, or so he thinks. Once his master dies and the Skeksis emperor passes on, it only leaves like 9 of each counterparts left. And it comes close to the time of the prophecy. And so Jen goes on this quest to find the shard, reunite the crystal, get it back. And he meets a female Gelfling along the way who is raised by these pod people. So finds he's not alone, that there's a counterpart that they each have each other to confide in, and they work together to put the shards back together to bring harmony to the land. And it's quite an epic story, and there's so much that happens. And I can see why kids would be terrified by some of the stuff they see in here with the way these puppets are built up. But ultimately, they succeed, and they reunite the halves of the mystics and the Skeksis to make them the Urskeks, these divine beings. And man, it's a pretty amazing tale.
Those divine beings are kind of terrifying when they show up.
They look kind of creepy, I'll admit. Yeah,
they're some creepy ghosts. Which but yeah. Jonathan, I liked your description of it better than
I like Jonathan's description a lot better than mine. Mine
I try to give a good breakdown.
I'm sorry, Jonathan.
No, I think what you said is totally fair. Like the way you described it sounds so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I wanted when I watched it. But unfortunately, I watched it and I'm like, this is the typical, it was a unique fantasy world, but the twist on the story is kind of the same. It's still the I don't want to say reluctant hero in this case, but it's still the chosen one on the journey. This time, instead of the ring, it is the crystal. You know, you got to unite the crystal, and you do this, and it's going to heal the land. And so the world itself, that was super cool, and I'll get into all of that stuff later. This story for me just felt somewhat like I've seen it before, even though I haven't seen this movie. There's a lot of unique twists to things. I thought like the Skeksis and what were the other ones?
The mystics.
Mystics.
Skeksis are all I remember. The mystics combining at the end, turning into one being, like that was cool. That's a unique thing, unique twist on it. But I watched this and I didn't think the story was that crazy original for me, unfortunately. I feel like I'm being hard on this movie because I know people love this movie. But as a longtime reader of fantasy, I feel like I've read stories like this before. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at on this. I gave the story a 2, as in it's okay. It's okay. It's an okay story. And I'm kind of harsh.
How about you, Evan?
I gave it a 4. I liked it.
Good.
I made poo-poo. I made poo-poo on telling the story. I'm so glad Jonathan just came in and saved the day. But yeah, I gave it a 4. I enjoyed the movie, altogether. In certain aspects, certain ways. We'll go as we continue this, but yeah, I gave it a 4. I liked it.
Well, there's a classic theme here of balance and counterparts of light and dark, nature, knowledge, and putting everything back together. Because I mean, like I said with Jen, he's got the grip on knowledge and numbers and math and reading and writing, where his female counterpart Kira, she has a grip on the nature aspect of life and communication with creatures and the land, which is fantastic, and how they work together, how they combine their efforts and their strengths in order to take the light and dark side of the Skeksis once they're reunited at the end, and putting them all together to being balanced, shard crystal, the castle, everything in the land, just being one again. So I mean, I know it's a common theme.
Fall asleep in this movie. I didn't fall asleep, but I missed all of that.
Oh, okay, all right.
I had forgotten the end up until this last watch.
I'm not criticizing it. I'm like, you have definitely seen this movie more than me. I feel like I need to give it another shot because I missed so much of that on my first viewing.
Okay, then it's definitely worth a watch again. Absolutely. So
I'm disappointed in myself.
Oh, you'll be all right. But I agree with Evan, though. I'm also a 4 on the story as well.
All right. I want you to disagree with me. That's good. All right. So on to the characters in this one. Oh, I have my notes. Why didn't I open my notes? Characters. We have Jen, Kira, Chamberlain, Agra.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I like
Agra. Those are our mains. Kira's little pet Fizzgig was the standout in the movie for me. I loved Fizzgig.
Were you torn apart when they threw Fizzgig down the fire?
I was pretty upset about it.
Yeah,
into the pit of fire with you, Fizzgig.
Yeah, I forgot to. I was like, oh no, not Fizzgig.
Yeah, I was pretty upset about Fizzgig, but that's okay. I mean, that's just another one of those moments that, like, this is a kids movie, and you threw Fizzgig down. You threw Fizzgig down the well.
But it's okay. Agra saves him with a little stick prod and gets him off the thing he's hanging off of. So it's okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just scary. It's fearful, but he turns out okay in the end. Mm-hmm. That's all right.
It's true.
Yep.
That's true. It was we'll get into effects later. I was ready to jump right into it because that's what this movie is. Yeah, so you mentioned, Jonathan, Jen's orphaned, book taught, cautious. Kira is a little braver, and you mentioned is more attuned to nature. But yeah, that's what I have in my notes for characters.
That's all right. What you got, Evan?
So, I mean, if you start off with the way that he tries to go about his time is when he starts off, he seems like a scaredy cat. Not super scaredy cat, but he has to go out into the world that he doesn't even know, and he has to do it alone. As he progresses through the story, of course, he learns a little bit more about the places he goes. He meets, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. I just said her name.
Kira?
No, the old witch.
Agra.
When he meets her, it starts to take a different turn for him, that he's learning more and more. And then he meets Kira, where I'd say he falls in love with her instantaneously. I don't know. It's a kids' movie. You can't be having these type of activities in kids' movies. I think they learned,
Especially with puppets.
huh?
Especially with puppets.
Yeah, I mean, and then of course you've got your Skeksis, and they are just some of the nastier people, especially Chamberlain. I hate Chamberlain.
Very annoying.
He just annoyed the piss out of me. But Jen's character development as the story progressed until he got to the end, and he's the one that stuck that crystal in the end. He was fighting all the way up until the end, not knowing what the hell he's supposed to do at all. He was given nothing, and he somehow figured it out with the help of his friends along the way.
Okay. So,
I think that,
with the character set here,
go ahead.
yeah, Jen doesn't know what's going on. He's just advised by his master before he passes away that he needs to go and find Agra. He needs to go on this quest. So he goes out stumbling, trying to figure out what to do. Once he meets Agra, though, and says he just needs a shard, she's like, "Oh, well, here, check these out. Figure it out. I don't know what to do. I don't know which one it is." And he uses his own sense of intuition based on what he was taught by the mystics, and used music to discover which one it is. So it's a journey of learning and discovery for him, aside from just finding his place in the world as what he thinks is himself as the last Gelfling. And then once he meets Kira, and then meets these pod people and all that stuff, he starts to broaden his view. There's to know more about other people. And then it's crazy, though, because going back a little bit, back to Agra, can't really say that they're friends, but they seem to have somewhat of a mild relationship, though. But once, like, the big giant beetle looking things, I don't remember what they're called, but it's crazy how, I just think it's hilarious how Jen just yeeted himself out of a window to get away. That was hilarious.
That was a cool scene. That whole scene was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome. But, once these creatures keep chasing him, he meets Kira and they come after them and they escape into these ruins that they're, apparently Kira says that everyone's afraid to go into. That's when they find the mural. That's when they see the prophecy. And she's like, "What is all this?" And he's like, "Oh, this is writing. These are words." And he translates everything for her and discovers the prophecy, what's supposed to happen, finds his direction and what they need to do. And then once this Chamberlain, who is stripped of his position, after their trial of stone with the Skeksis and him getting kicked out, there's a lot of different stuff going on here. And the Chamberlain has his own plan to deceive them, acts like their friend, in order to get them to the Dark Castle to get the shard there so that he can get himself back into the good graces of the rest of his group. And there's just there's a lot more that goes into it, and like little small details, because the Skeksis, they're doing so much to try and keep themselves alive and to keep going, and they're draining the essence from all these different creatures. And
draining the essence is another creepy thing for children. I want to drain your essence, sucking the life. That's another creepy thing for a kids movie,
right? And it's like in that moment where they capture Kira and they try to drain her of her essence, but then Agra is like, "Hey, you got some ability here. Fight to stay alive," and uses her abilities with that connection to nature and to communicate with animals to get them all to escape, to attack the Skeksis, to help free her. So she learns more about herself and what she can do with her own abilities, with her connection to nature, just like Jen has with his ability with knowledge and his sense of perception. And bringing those two together in order to beat the Skeksis and get the shard back into the crystal, and how they overcome all that and come out on top in the end once they reunite both halves of the Mystics and the Skeksis into the Urskeks, and how they use their power to bring back Kira after she's killed by the Skeksis. Because she was already faint from being drained, uses last for energy to throw that crystal, and they win the day. They get their just reward at the end. She's brought back. They get to be together as one. They get to oversee the crystal. The land is back in harmony. And then the spirits of the Skeksis, boom, off, gone into the ether. And they get to see how to bring the land and rule it and do whatever they got to do for future generations. And that's a pretty amazing arc. Not really much for Agra in that sense, because she's just a side note, although she is kind of feisty and fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
But that's pretty much it, an arc, And the Skeksis, they get their just desserts at the end by being defeated and being like, aha, we got you now, suckers. And the Mystics be like, we're going to absorb you back in. You're not getting away. It's awesome to see that kind of
give me a big Skeksis hug.
Those giant beetle-like things are Gartham.
Ah, okay.
They're the Gartham. Yeah, I have nothing to add to what Jonathan said. You covered it. You did better than I could. I missed some of that. Like I said, I think this is a movie that I need to see again. I don't know how soon, but there's a lot to unpack here. This, honestly, and I'll get to it later, I feel like I would enjoy the novelization of this movie more than I enjoyed the movie itself, if that makes sense. I think I would like to read it, but there was so much that disconnected for me, and I'll get to that. But I was a 3 for the character arcs. I thought they were good. I think that hardest part for me, the character arc, is I felt like I was missing a prologue and an epilogue. I needed to know a little bit more about Jen. I needed to know a little bit more about Kira. And I wanted to see a little bit more at the end on the other side too. What was their life like? Like, to use Star Wars as an example, we see Luke going about his day-to-day life and then find out that, like, oh, you're the chosen one mentor, or Luke wasn't the chosen one, but you're coming on this voyage. I didn't really feel like I got to see Jen's day-to-day life before, get to know who Jen was, other than like he was sitting by the water playing music and then he's at the Mystic's bedside as it's dying. And I just wanted more of that to get me hooked in. And because of that, I wasn't super attached to any of them moving into the film. But then at the end, I also want to see how their life has changed after the events of the film. So I'm not arguing. You covered what was in there. I'm just saying what I needed to connect with it more is a little bit more on the front and the back to help me connect with Jen, connect with Kira a little more. And I know fair. This is a little bit more. This is a little bit more of one of those. I mean, I was about to say Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but even Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, we get to know the Pevensies before they enter the wardrobe. And so I'm trying to think, it almost might be like Wheel of Time, where the stranger shows up and they all leave together, and then we get to know them. So, yeah, and that was another one that I had a hard time with. I'm someone who I do appreciate a little bit of a slow beginning because it tells me why I should care about the characters. So I'm a 3. I think it's a good arc, but I wasn't super attached to any of them. Even when Kira died or was stabbed, I was like, this is a kid's movie. that was it. I wasn't emotionally attached to Kira. Evan?
I came in strong right behind you with a 3. I just, like you said, I just need a little bit more of that backstory to know who they were beforehand. I mean, other than the fact we understood who Kira was, is that Kira with the pod people, they're a bunch of alcoholics. They like to party. They like to get drunk. They like to party.
That was a cool scene.
Yeah.
That was,
which I guess I guess if you got to worry as a pod person to be abducted into getting your soul taken out, what else could you do all day than party?
Just party, because
Might as well
you
get
know
rich.
your soul sucking moment is coming soon.
Yeah, you're gonna die either way. So YOLO, let me party up.
Well, I see where you guys are coming
Uh,
from, but I mean, in all fairness, at the start of the movie, you get the narration that kind of gives the explanation of what's happening, what's going to go down a little bit, give you some pretext there, and then even though you don't see much into Jen's life at the start, I will say it's kind of weird that they show him playing his flute naked at the pool. Like, I don't know why they couldn't have had him
yeah,
wearing clothes instead of, I don't know. That was
your
weird to me.
puppet.
Yeah, why do we need a naked puppet playing? I don't know, but whatever's whatever.
I didn't
They did
expect
their
puppet
thing.
nudity, but
Yeah, I'm not like offended, but I just thought it was weird. But when Jen
yeah,
and Kira meet though, and they touch hands, they do that dream fast thing, and so you do get that glimpse
yes,
into their
right,
lives and their past and what happened to them when the Skeksis tried to commit genocide, and so you see the other halves of each to see how they were raised, despite the trauma. And they get to learn about each other. So you do get that sense of backstory a little bit more there. Although I do agree, it would have been nice to get some of that context at the beginning with him. But you do get
yeah,
some insight to that. Overall, though, for me, this is a good film for me. I give it a 5 on character arc.
good, good. uh, all right, on to music and sound design. I have in my notes composer Trevor Jones. Uh, Scored, recorded with the London Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Marcus Dodds at Abbey Road Studios.
Ooh, that's cool.
There's some nice elements to the music here, from quote unquote ancient sounds at just kind of, I guess, classic fantasy music that I would associate with a fantasy. Uh, percussive percussion for the ritual stuff that the Skeksis are doing, harmonies used for the mystics, even the like almost elf-like lyrical music used for Gelfling moments. There was some interesting music choices in the film.
I can't really say much about the music. It was very dramatic, heavy music, and it played well to set the tone for the scenes. Other than that, I mean, yeah, you get your standard explosion sounds and battle sounds and sound of blades when they're doing the challenge of the stone and cutting things off. You know, there's a lot of good sound and background action going on with everything. Even like the nature sounds as Jen's traveling through the bogs and different things. Even the creature sounds are pretty amazing. And then how Kira communicates with all the different creatures and the sounds that they're making. There's a lot that goes into all of that. And like you said, with like how long it took to make everything, even the sounds of the Skeksis and the wails and screams and stuff, there is a lot to really build on there. But otherwise, the music, it just fits the tone. And I don't really have much else to say about it. It just did its thing and like it was supposed to, and there it was.
I don't really have a lot more to say on that, because that's exactly correct. You guys are both like hitting it right nail on the head. It's like yeah, everything worked really well with what was going on at every time in the movie. The background sounds, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but the second time I was like, okay, I'm hearing all these nature sounds. This is
Yes,
what I'm looking
yes.
for. I'm hearing rocks crackling, falling down. I'm hearing vines coming down, picking them up. I was like, I hear it all.
Water.
So yeah, everything was great sound wise. Sound design, I thought was really good.
I think you raise an interesting point here. Is that this sound design, you forget you're watching, like, everything in this movie is a soundstage. It's all puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And you forget that. multiple points in this movie, and we're going to get into special effects in the very next category. But you forget while watching it how much the sound has to do with creating that world, and how if it was just silent and we heard like that's not what we're getting. I believed, and there's extended shots of just like nature in this. That's all puppet. Even the one of there's like those plants that fly up into the air, and there's like 4 of them that spiral up, and it looked like it was filmed in reverse and then played forward to get that effect. But still, it's just the entire sequence is like, I feel like I'm watching a foreign planet. Like, it's fascinating. So I think we would be we'd be remiss to not acknowledge how much the sound design creates this immersive world that we are seeing. The music itself is mostly fine. It's good stuff. I'm not running out to grab the Dark Crystal on vinyl. That's not my thing. But the sound design of the film creates a very real sounding world. So I had to give it credit there. I gave it a 4.
I came in high with a 5. High 5.
Okay. For me, like I said, with me, it everything just did what it was supposed to, and it blended well. So I'm mid range at a 3.
Okay.
And then the biggest part of this, editing and special effects. Boo. Who wants to start on this one?
Yeah, Evan, you want to take this up? This is a big category.
So we've got 1982. Okay. We just watched the Rocky Horror Picture Show just a few weeks ago on our podcast. I could compare it to that. I could compare it to The Labyrinth, which was also around the same time frame. You know, this, I really hate to be such a bad sport about it, is they did really good. I saw the Skeksis and I was like, oh, okay. They're kind of nasty looking. They did good, I guess. Some of their like mouthing and stuff like that. I was like, okay, where the hell are they speaking? How are they speaking? I'm like, okay, they're just speaking in their mind. Whatever.
It did take me a second to realize that those were internal thoughts a couple times with Jen. Yeah, it did take me a couple times to catch that.
I will say, when the first emperor, when he died, I thought that was cool. I thought it was awesome. I was like, oh man, he crumbles. Like, I was like, that is so awesome. Like that was really cool to do.
I was going to say that is another one of those like nightmare scenes for a child watching this, is to watch the emperor just turn black and crumble. That would have scarred like 6-year-old me. I would have been disturbed.
It was better than his counterpart Mystic fading out in Sparkles. Yeah. The crumbling of the Skeksis Emperor was awesome.
I consider that Jedi disappearing, if I may, go into the Star Wars realm.
Hey, Frank Oz, so it works.
But then, like, later on, when you've got the general, he's drinking the soul out of the pod people, and his nose starts to grow back. You see his like veins start popping back up, and you're like, "Oh, that's pretty neat little things right here going on." And then he deflates, and you're like, "Oh, that's that's not super great. That's terrifying, for a kid." But us being us, is like, all right, we're adults, we see this type of stuff, but their practical effects to doing all of this with puppets is so good. Even when like the pod people and Kira are in the very bottom, and they've got the planet's suns beaming down on them from the dark crystal, beaming into them and sucking their souls out, and they're deflating like an old person. I was like, ooh. And then like that white eyes, I was like, All right. I can mess with this. Been a long time, but yeah. And then what was it? The Landstriders. You had the Landstriders at one point, and rest those Landstriders, man. Poor guys.
Straight out of a Salvador Dali painting, I swear. I swear.
Long leg bunny ears, floppy bunny ears looking things.
Yeah, it was making me think of I can't remember. It was like some weird Alice in Wonderland movie that I saw that was all puppets, and it was like, ooh, man. And seeing them, I was like, those are kind of gross looking with their hairy ass arms and elbows.
You talking about Return to Oz?
I don't think it was Return to Oz. After we get off of here, I will
There was
send
a lot
it
of
to
like
you.
puppetry and other stuff in there. A lot
It
of
was
creepy stuff.
really, really creepy. Like I think
they had like wheel rollers they were running around on that were kind of like that, long limbed or something. Whatever they were.
Something like that. I'll have to look it up after we get off of here, and I'll send it to you and let everybody else know on here what I'm talking about. If you've seen it, you've seen it, and you remember it, and it's like terrifying.
I was just trying to look up the Salvador Dali painting that those freaky things reminded me of, but go ahead.
They were freaky looking. And then you had like the creature that came out of the water like a hippopotamus.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, that pops up. And then all these little babies pop up underneath it, and you're like, that just kind of looks sticky and kind of just gooey.
Okay, you're hitting on what I think is the magic and amazing part of this movie. I don't think the story is why people watch this movie.
No.
If I'm honest. That's me. Jonathan did a very good recount of the story, and so maybe it's a difference between watching it for the first time this week and seeing it when I'm younger. But to me, I'm watching this in like it is one thing after another of Jim Henson and Frank Oz going, what wild, awesome creature can we show you next? And it is just like we start with some basic ones, and then like you said, oh, somebody's sinking in. Were they sinking in quicksand, standing in water, basically?
It was like a mud puddle.
Yeah, and then she whistles and it stands up and you're like, oh, it's a creature. Oh, there's more to it. Oh, like that's how this movie unfolds. We see Aughra with her device thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Insane.
A lot of amazing set design.
That is, it is amazing. And that is the other thing, Jonathan, the set design, when you actually take 2 seconds and realize, oh, this is all puppetry, those sets are miniature. They aren't full-size sets. Humans couldn't walk on those sets. Those are sets meant for, albeit large, puppets. This is one where earlier it said no humans appeared on screen. I don't think that's true. Because I think I think maybe what it's saying online is that there's no actor delivering lines on screen. Portraying a character, because there are a couple moments when Jen is like running in the distance and I'm like, that's a person in costume.
Yeah, because the knees bend too well.
Yes, I'm like, that is a person moving in costume, so they must have had sets for that. There's early on Jen like runs through the distance or down the mountain side. I'm like, that is clearly somebody dressed as Jen. That, and I'm fine with that. That's, to me, that's being creative and using that skill to create that. And then the Garthier, is that what I just said their names? The Beetle Warriors, whatever they're called.
The beetle creatures, let's just call them beetle creatures.
Yeah, the giant beetle creatures. I have the Garthim. I was close.
Dirty beetles.
They look
Excellent,
like somebody covered in costume to me. So, which I'm fine with somebody covered in costume. Well, and it even says full body suits are used, but rod and hand puppetry, radio controlled facial mechanics. The suits for the Garthim were so heavy they had to be suspended between takes. They were like, I thought I read 70 plus pounds
They were pretty big suits, dude. They're very elaborate, big body action.
Yes. But then we also have like the pageantry between the ceremonies, the Landstrider chase. I mean, the director of photography was Oswald Morris, who was an Oscar winner. But can you imagine being a director of photography and like, hey, we're going to shoot this entire movie puppets? Can you make it look cool? And that leads to like the storybook fantasy setting. It's like watching a book come to life, and you can definitely see where the concept artist was an influence in a lot of these things. But miniatures, forced perspective, painted backgrounds, it's, to me, this is why the movie was made. And this is where I kind of get on my critique, is that I feel like they had this world, this idea, this vision for all of these things, and then came up with a story. So, and that's just how I watched it the first time. I could be wrong. I don't know. But to me, this was a visual device. Like, it is just, look at this, look at the amazing puppetry and work, because that, I was amazed. There were multiple times throughout this watching the Mystics, even the Skeksis, that I forget they're puppets. I would totally forget their puppets. The only times that I've really had issues with it were Jin and Kira's face were a little too flat sometimes. And I wanted some more emotion. I mean, we still got Jen crying at the end, which was really nice. Like, it's still good, but it's those little subtle cheek smiles and lip movements and things that I don't realize I'm missing until they're gone. I think it works really well when you're doing creatures like the Mystics and all of that. They look fantastic. When you're doing a more human face is when I noticed it dipped a little. But dipped a little. I mean, this was insane. Insane.
I kind of agree with you, Tim, about the whole not being any like physical people thing in it. Aside from like the Dirty Beetles, I feel like the parts where like Jen, when he's at Agra's and they're being attacked, I feel like that's an actor in a Jen suit when he heats himself out that window. It's not just a flop. It seems like kind of short run stumbles and just flops out the window through like sugar glass kind of a thing. And then towards the end, when he's on that upper platform and he runs and jumps on the crystal, I feel like that's a small person in a suit also, even though like it's not an actual actor, you know. So I feel like there's some decent stunt work involved in that as far as that part of the manipulation.
I would have to agree.
But man, the special effects though, man, they had some pretty awesome stuff that was epic for the time, especially considering it's 82 and what they were able to do with a lot of the perspective overlays of things and imposing characters over the images. Kind of like, because you can tell at the end there when you've got the Skeksis, once they're reunited, you've got the whole scenery, then you've got the overlay of that see-through kind of part of the Skeksis while they're talking. And then you can, if you pay attention, you could pretty much tell that Jen holding Kira is another overlay on top of that. You know, it seems pretty clear on that part, but still a really good effect. And just the light effects of everything from the sun to the crystal to the Skeksis, or to the Mystics, and then the light that comes out of them to the Skeksis to bring them back together. You know, even like the parts where Jen escapes from Agra's and you can see the place burning in the distance. There's some more perspective overlay in that as well, but it's still a cool effect. And I really appreciate those classic 80s effects, man. There's something special about that just really speaks to a sense of reminiscence of my childhood. You know, it's really hard to ignore that.
I would have to agree with you there. I had to give this a 5. It's just impressive. The effects, the editing, It is amazing. There's no way around it. There's no way around it.
I'm a 5 also, all day, every day.
I am a 4.
You're wrong.
That's fine. That's fine. There are a few pieces in this that kind of like threw me for a loop. Like when Jen is leaving out of what's her name? Agra. When he's leaving out of that house, how does he fall down that hill? And yet he's so far away from Agra's house, and there's no way that hill can drop that.
You're overanalyzing a movie about puppets.
Yeah, I'm being critical.
He was pretty distant from her place when he's watching it burn and explode.
Yeah,
you do got to wonder how he did move that fast, especially if he hops out of a friggin' window and who knows
he's still
how far
he's still falling as he's going down. So it's like, I suppose. So I gave it a 4. I would probably give it a 5 if it weren't for. I'm being hypercritical. I'll give it a 5. Why not?
See, I would even think like what you bring up is more of a director's point than what I would say for the special effects.
Because I hear about that.
As a director, I would be like, okay, we got to explain how this character ended up so far away, but the effect is still amazing. All right, on to the next category. I lost my paper. Script. Written by Odell. Last name Odell. And I believe it was Frank Oz had Henson and Oz were both involved in it a little, but I think Odell delivered the treatment. So he apparently Henson had an earlier and much denser story. Which I kind of want to read his notes. I want to read his story.
I would too.
Interesting. Apparently, his earlier cuts featured the Skeksis and Mystics speaking inverted languages of each other.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, that would make sense.
Which goes to that whole wholeness and the duality going on. But it was, which might cause for some of the puppetry issues, is they were speaking different languages with minimal or no translation. And then in previews, it was deemed confusing. So Odell wrote English translations and dubbed the mouth shapes.
Okay. All right.
So that was a late stage pivot. And that might be why some of the mouths don't line up exactly, not precisely. I'm also like, I'm watching puppets. It's impressive. So I'm not gonna nitpick if they didn't get the exact number of syllables. But the script itself, go ahead, guys. Jonathan, do you want to kick us off?
Well,
you have much to say on this?
I like the dialogue of it, and I like how everything kind of paces along in the story. I really don't have much to say about the script. Like nothing that's deep in thought on it. I just like it for what it is. It's appealing as a family film because the way the dialogue's set, there's nothing that's overly harsh or abrasive with language throughout the film. It's more about the visual aspect of everything that's in this film versus the dialogue. Although I do say that the speaking parts between Kira and Jen are great. And then the dialogue between all the Skeksis when they're communicating and talking about trying to catch the Gelflings. And Agra, she was sassy. I like Agra because she's a sassy character. You know, especially when she's telling off the Skeksis after they bring her. She's like, I'm not a Gelfling, blah, 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 blah. And takes one of their bottles and sits down, has a drink, you know, and she just didn't give a shit, you know. I think she was cool how they wrote her as a character. But that and just, you know, the dialogue at the end with the Urskeks and, you know, just kind of like doing their whole thing, talking stuff out and explaining the situation. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have anything in depth to say at this part.
I felt like a lot of my issues understanding the story came from the script. We got our intro dialogue at the beginning, and I thought that was pretty great. I was kind of hooked at that intro dialogue. I'm like, okay, this is fascinating. Tell me more. And then the dialogue wasn't great. There were a couple moments that I didn't understand. It didn't resonate with me. Why Jen is like, okay, show me what I need to do. And I'm like, that's not exciting. And then there was one moment. This is a horrible, like this is not an exact quote, but Jen and Kira are like wandering somewhere. And Jen is basically like, well, where do we go? Like, I don't know what to do now. And she goes, oh, well, we do this now. And then it's like a lot of that really oversimplistic. And that is where I'm like, okay, this was also a kid's movie. Was it for kids? I don't know. A kid's movie. So we got to keep it somewhat simple. I'm going to give it some leeway on that. But I also it didn't hook me with the dialogue. So I wasn't, I didn't exactly love the script. So I guess is what I'm saying. Evan, you have thoughts?
There's not a whole lot that I took from the script. The one thing that always stuck with me throughout my entire life, even, as soon as I watched it the other day, I was like, all right, let me see this. And the first thing that popped up was, of course, the It was when they're in the ruins and Chamberlain is saying, please make peace, please. And he freaking he like starts to like tilt his head and you're like, you can hear the hate in his voice and you're like, oh man, that was nightmare fuel for me when I was a kid. And it's not nightmare fuel now, but even still, it's like, that was kind of creepy. Yeah. But yeah, not a whole lot to say for the script.
All right. Well, here we'll drop our scores. I feel bad, but I just thought the script was okay. I give it a 2. I thought it was okay.
I'm at a 4. There are some fun small lines and a good bit of humor there, especially with Agra and some of the dialogue there. And then even like Jen, like stuff between Jen and Kira, and he's like, "What?" Like when she pops out her wings, he's like, "You got wings? I don't have wings." And boy, like he's supposed to know this,
I did laugh at that part. I did laugh out loud. I thought that was a nice moment. Yeah,
and then there was also the part where Jen gets tangled up in like the vines and meets Agra, and he talks about how the mystic's dead. And she's like, "Where is he?" And he's like, "He's dead." Oh, he could be anywhere then. This is just like funny, small little bits and pieces in there. But overall, I thought it was a 4.
Okay.
You know what? Since I'm already on the screen like this, in between both of you guys, I'm going to continue this sandwich, and I'm going to come in at a 3.
Ooh. All right. 2, 3, 4. We did it. That's okay. The acting. Let's go to the acting here. The acting is one that this is tough because there's no humans on screen. So how are we judging this acting? You have, in this case, one person, the puppeteer, or multiple puppeteers moving our character. And then we have another person essentially voice acting for that character later in the dub. So you're it's kind of like an animated movie, I guess. You're judging the dub, but there's another layer because there's still humans performing that puppetry. And that is, I tried to take that puppetry performance into my acting score. I definitely let that influence because I don't think you can get away from this movie without acknowledging how good the puppetry is. I mean, we did it in special effects, but also need to acknowledge it in the acting. So I did, but which one of you wants to hop in?
I didn't take it into consideration. any of that.
I did.
I'm kidding. No, without actors on the screen, you just kind of try to go. I'd say more along the lines of the dialogue, but even with that, it's hard. That's the script. So I considered script and acting kind of in the same realm because without an actor on the screen, I can't see it. If I can't see it like that, I can't give you the props. But if I look at it for the perspective of the puppeteer doing it, I would be a little bit probably higher than I am. And that's just a faux pas on me. I didn't see it that way. So I don't have
Nothing
much
wrong
to
with that.
say.
That's okay. I thought the acting was pretty good considering it's all puppetry, and even in some parts, where you're trying to sync up the mouth movements with the dialogue, and even like you said earlier, Tim, with how they had to change certain parts of that, and because of like the inverted language parts, even having to change that up last minute, I still think they did a good job of it, and still kept things for the most part on track so that it didn't seem too off. So I was okay with it. I thought it worked out pretty well, considering it's all puppetry. Even with the sounds of the characters and the creatures and the podlings and everything else, it all still seemed to go pretty well together. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about, so the voices mean nothing to me, honestly. If I'm looking at the list of performers,
nothing.
I don't know. I don't know who these people are. Stephen Garlick was Jen. Lisa Maxwell is Kira. Billy Whiteclaw is Agra. Like, these aren't names I know. The Muppets alums, though, Dave Goles, Catherine Mullen, Steve Whitmire, and Henson and Oz. Frank Oz is a legend. We all know Frank Oz.
Yep.
But the conceptual designer for these characters was Brian Froud, who later did Labyrinth. And the production designer was Harry Lang, who had worked on Star Wars. But several of the puppeteers who worked on this movie later went on to do Return of the Jedi and the Ewoks and all of the puppetry in that movie. So that the puppeteers themselves have to have credit for this movie, Return of the Jedi, so on. This was the golden age of puppetry in film, period. So I was a 4. I was a 4 on the acting.
Sweet. I was a 4 as well.
Yay!
There's no Jeff done a magic here on this part. I'm a 3.
Right on. Oh, man, that's cool.
Okay, so the direction of the film. Split direction by Frank Oz and Jim Henson. I don't know how to. I don't even know how to sum this up. I've never seen anything like this movie. I've never seen anything like it. Entirely, it's like watching. It's not. It's so much more magical than watching an animated movie. Because there's something about an animated movie that still feels, it's not physical. It feels disconnected. It feels like a cartoon. This one still feels physically real, but it's not humans. In a way, it's animation because it's animated objects. And I don't even know how you begin to direct an entire movie and storyline the way Frank and Jim did. It's insane. I was watching for like, hey, can I see where the set ends and like the puppeteer can like dip in? No, they did so good. You see like tricks of the camera. They don't show a lot of feet. You see or a couple shots of Kira's feet in one scene. You see some further away shots that we said it clearly looks like a person in a costume. And then there are more than a couple. If there's a lot of characters on screen, we don't see the legs at all. And it's just the amount of thought that has to go into how you present this film versus shooting a traditional scene is insane. This screams passion project to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I just have a bunch of creature designs. Like, let's just have some fun, create in this world, and it's awesome to look at. And that's on the directors. That's their vision. It's insane. Evan,
I
know this is Jonathan's favorite category.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me hit it right here in the middle. Direction. It was good. This is, like you said, nothing that we've ever seen before or something that we've seen actually since then. The whole development of everything, we're never going to see it. With Henson passed away, Frank Oz has passed away, correct?
Yeah, I think they're both gone. Let me look up. Frank might be...
Yeah, I don't know about Frank, but yeah, Jim Henson definitely died a while back.
Now, I was just playing around when I said it. Okay, yeah. I was just playing around just a few moments ago when I said it's no Jeff Dunham. I was just kidding. Those two are legendary.
I thought that's what you said. I barely heard it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Those two are legendary, and without those two doing what they did together for half the things that we've gotten, we wouldn't. I mean, I guess this would also fall into the it factor, is we just wouldn't have what we had, if we didn't have this movie or The Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk too hard on it because if this is Jonathan's favorite subject, I'm not going to ruin it or talk too hard. So I'm just higher up on it than, I'm higher up on it. So Jonathan?
Yes, Tim is spot on with his sarcasm on this one for me.
Uh-huh.
He
is on record.
Yeah, in just about every episode, I bring it up. Yeah, but you're right though, Tim. It is hard to try and give us any kind of like structured thoughts on direction since it's all puppetry and animatronics. But I mean, for the most part, it's all about the angles, the shots, the close-ups, as they're running away and chasing, and then the livelier moments of it all. There's some spots where you can tell that there's an actor in costume because of the Gelfling hands, because they got the 3 fingers in the thumb. But then there's like a couple scenes where you see like the actor hand who's got like the 5 fingers. So it kind of throws off the illusion a little bit there.
What?
But aside from that, I mean, the fact that they based everything off a concept and then kind of wrote a script as they went with it and still put this together was still pretty amazing. And I like the fact that Jim Henson wanted to kind of be dark, like a Brothers Grimm fairy tale kind of situation. Because, based on what I've read online, he liked the idea that children being scared was healthy for emotion. And so the way it was so lighthearted through a lot of it, but there were still those moments that could still be scary and fearful for a child without it getting too deep, still speaks a lot to their credit for what they put together on this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a 5 on the direction. I was impressed. We lost Jonathan.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. Evan, what were you?
I gave it
a 4.
Yeah, what just happened?
There you are.
I don't know what happened. Everything just did its own weird thing. That was weird.
That's okay. Evan was just about to tell us his score.
I gave the direction a 4. I was chuckling when you said we didn't get, too many feet shots or leg shots, because all I could think to myself was, we're not watching a Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, it's not a Tarantino
and we're not watching Forrest Gump. You don't have the legs, Lieutenant Dan, but you're still making it.
You don't have Margaret Qualley slapping her feet on the dash.
Ooh.
Or Uma Thurman wiggling her toes.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't need that. I'm at a 3 on direction.
Oh. Wiggle your toes.
No,
Wiggle.
I will not.
Let's see them tootsies.
I love Kill Bill. Oh, fantastic. All right.
Movie.
It's so good. All right. On to the it factor, cultural significance. So, does somebody want to take this one away? Or
I do.
Okay, go for it.
So when it comes to it factor on this, I mean, Jim Henson, in his own right, is a legend. And the work that he did inspired so many other people that we have an abundance of puppetry work and animatronics in so many other films after this. And it wasn't really a big thing prior. So this being 1982 and how this was a movie that was entirely puppetry and animatronics, was except those couple exceptions for the actors in suits for distance shots and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that came after it was incredible because, I mean, this is 82. And then you've got 1984 where you've got The Never-Ending Story. And there was puppetry and animatronics of super epicness, you know. And then from there, you've got the stuff that you see in Legend with Tom Cruise. And then from there, Labyrinth in 86 and all the amazing creatures that you saw there. So Jim Henson's work is carried over into so many different things. And the way it's inspired other people going forward, you know, with puppetry, even though it's more of a ventriloquist thing with puppetry, like with Jeff Dunham, there's a big impact there. And the way that you can tell a story with puppetry and animatronics. So I think he created an amazing legacy that so many of the people have tried so hard to follow. Even now, they're still, you know, the using puppetry and animatronics are still very prevalent. Like, was it the Happy Time or Happy Town Murders with it Jenny McCarthy or no?
Yeah, I remember
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy. Whole bunch of puppetry going on in that film. That was one of the most insane puppetry films I've seen, and that was fantastic. Definitely very adult themed, but super fucking cool. So
I forgot that existed, and now I want to watch it.
Dude, have you seen it before?
No.
Oh, dude!
Oh my god! Yeah,
the Happy Time Murders. You gotta watch.
I remember
the
trailer.
Such a good one. Oh my god!
Like take Happy Time Murders, and then right after watching that, watch Team America: World Police.
That one I remember. Yeah,
Team America. Absolutely. There you go. I can't believe I forgot about that one. Yeah, all the marionette action in that one. Like, there's still a place in the world for puppetry. It's not something that should ever fall by the wayside. And I don't think it ever really will, because there's always going to be someone out there who finds purpose in that, and all of the next generations that will be inspired in it. And when they discover these things, how it will spur their imagination to do something awesome, I think has amazing significance.
Yeah.
It's hard to disagree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was about to say, I agree completely all the way through that. You know, there's many movies that came after it, but I think this was one of the first puppet movies, like, to be able to fully develop a whole movie based exactly on puppets. But then you talking about Happy Time Murders, you got Team America, you've got Never-Ending Story, you've got all these other things that just try to take a little bit, but of course not all of it, but just a little bit. And just that little bit is what you need. And I think that Jim Henson and Frank Oz are the creators and the ways to go about it. Sorry, Walt Disney, you're not that great. You weren't a puppeteer.
Sucker!
Disney's overrated.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I was just curious. I was looking. I think this was the film, and so I might have to change my score a little bit. I think this was the film that gave Jim Henson work. Before this movie, why did my mouse just stop?
Well, he's had a lot of stuff. He had a catalog of work prior to this, maybe not as prevalent. But,
he did.
And then
but
the Muppet
everything
Show.
Before this is kids. It's Hey Cinderella, Tales from Muppetland, The Muppets Valentine Show, Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, The Great Muppet Caper, The Fantastic Miss Piggy Show. Like, that's his work before this, and then he did The Dark Crystal. And then I think that's when people like George Lucas, he did, well, Yoda wasn't a thing on the first Star Wars movie. I think this put eyes on him for creature design, for using this puppetry, this stuff in other films. So I think this is the movie that George Lucas looks at this and goes, we need this guy for Star Wars. So, and I don't know, I'm not looking exactly at the timeline. It's hard to figure out where his influence goes under all the credits. He's got 43 directing credits, 99 acting credits, 72 producer credits. And
God,
which one is exactly like his influence on creature design and puppetry for a small scene in a movie? That's what I can't tell. But I think this is the movie that made other directors look at and go, we can do adult puppets. We can do mature themes and storytelling using puppets. So we had something similar with Jason and the Argonauts. I'm not saying this is the first time. Did a lot of stop motion for Jason and the Argonauts. But I'm saying this is the movie that made studios look to Jim Henson for that work. So I think this is the one that people are like, we need Jim. Did you see Dark Crystal? We need him for this. So that I have to take into consideration. Outside of that, this movie is a movie that I have seen my entire life. I've seen the box of the VHS on the shelf. I remember looking at it at the library when I was a kid. I remember being fascinated by it, but I never watched it. I don't remember. I knew of its existence, but I don't remember anybody being like, it's the best movie ever. You need to see it. So I was originally a 3, but after talking about it and realizing that I think this is what brought studios to Jim, I think I have to give it a 4, because I think this was him saying puppets are more than Sesame Street, more than the Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to give it a 4.
I can get down with that.
Yeah. I gave it a 3 as well. But the conversation that we've had, reviewing this and talking about it, you're right. I'm a 4 with it. I had a 3. I'm with a 4. This is what we're getting. This is how things got to be what they came for is from these guys.
Yeah.
We would have never had it, I don't think. Even with the Muppets, nobody would have came up with the same idea as the Muppets. And then to come to the Dark Crystal out of just like child friendly, and then to this, it's like this could be taken for adults and children at the same time.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Oh, and let's not forget Fraggle Rock.
Oh,
Fraggle Rock. Fraggle Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Fraggle Rock actually was that concept of the underground mining creatures was actually supposed to be part of this, but they took that out and ended up becoming used as part of that as a show instead. So also still a little more impact there, still something extra awesome. And not only that, but then if you think about Nickelodeon in the 90s, dude, Eureka's Castle. Boom.
Yeah.
Eureka's Castle. Awesome.
Yeah.
They had a lot of puppetry in there. I don't know if Jim Henson had anything to do with that, but I think Nickelodeon did an awesome job using puppetries with storytelling as a kid's show, along with Fraggle Rock too. So for me, it's a 4 all day. So we hit the trifecta here, boys.
Yeah. Yes. All in agreement. Is this the first time on this episode? Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Evan, you changed your score on special effects to 5, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so we were all in agreement there, as we should be. So let's do our how entertained were you out of 10 and your final thoughts on this movie. Evan, as our guest, why don't you kick us off?
How do you want to take my entertained? Do you want to take my entertained from when I was a kid, or do you want to take my entertained as an adult?
take it today as an adult. How entertained were you?
As an adult, it was a 6.
Okay.
As a kid, I would have probably gave it a 10. All day long, a 10. Because I remember it being so good, but just this couple go around, it was like, there were some times I just kind of got bored, other than like the beauty of the set and
Right.
like everything to go, like the sound, the set, everything was beautiful, but just some things were just lacking. And I was like, like I'm a little bit bored at times. I had tried my best not to look at my phone when I'm watching or, movie to review it. But I looked at my phone and I was like, man, if I'm looking at my phone, I've got to be lower down on it than what I want it to be, unfortunately.
That
is fair.
So, Jonathan, why don't you close us out, because you can be a nice little sandwich for that. I was a 5. There are a couple things for me in this film that I almost went lower, in all honesty, because, like Evan said, I was bored for a little bit. And I think for me, my issue on this movie lies with a couple things. I'm jaded by modern technology in films to where some of this looks so cool because it's puppetry, but it's not enough to engage me with like staring in wonder at the screen, because it's not something new to me. I've seen puppetry a lot, just not to this expanse. So it's not something new. I was watching it going, I wish I could see this for a first time in the 80s. Yeah. Because I'm sure I'd be like, holy crap. I'm still amazed at what they pulled off. But we've seen Avatar, which I hate that movie, but it was a sense of wonder. Okay? It's this magnificent sense of wonder seeing this movie that looks like that. So, and that is Pocahontas just repackaged with special effects. But I wonder if that is the sense of wonder people had seeing this in 82, the way we did seeing Avatar in 2008. And that's what I'm seeing in the comparison and why it doesn't stack up as much today. The other part for me is not having the character development at the beginning / end, and then made me miss emotion on the characters' faces and voices. So those two things disconnected me from Jen and Kira. I didn't have enough. Having more characters set up at the beginning to make me connect to Jen would have worked, and I could have gotten past the lack of emotion on faces. Having no character set up at the beginning, but more emotive faces would have kept me interested. I think the combination of two, gold. I'm not saying it was terrible emotive faces. I'm just saying I never realized how much I needed that in a movie until you see a puppet do it. And then when you see a puppet do it, you go, oh, I really don't relate to this thing at all. And that's that I felt that on it. So I do think this is a movie with a deeply fascinating world. I think it is incredibly visually stunning to look at and just see how they pulled this off. So many artists worked so hard and made it look so good. I just needed a little bit more of a compelling story or character to just hook me in. So that is why I'm at a 5. I don't think it's a bad movie at all. It's just not one that I'm going to be quick to recommend.
Okay. So this movie came out the year before I was born. So this film is over 40 years old. And there's definitely a difference from the wonder that I experienced seeing it as a child in the 80s versus how I view it when I see it now, with how much more I know about film and puppetry and animatronics. So it doesn't quite hit the same way, sadly, but I do still enjoy it, but it just doesn't have as much of a high note now as it did back then. So despite all that, I'm still giving it good marks. I still feel like this is a solid 7 for me.
Hey,
And it's
that's
something
fair.
that a lot of people know. I can talk about with a lot of folks that I grew up with. And it's something that a lot of people have a sense of commonality when it comes to film. So I think 7 is a good place to be on this.
Yeah. So I have our totals. Jonathan, you have your total?
I do, sir.
Evan, you were a 37. I was keeping track.
Okay, I was about to say I have not been doing any math. I'm sorry, my
That's
bad,
okay.
Tim.
You were
I
at 37.
I should know.
Jonathan, what were you?
I am a 39.
And I was a 34. So combined, getting our average out of that, it came out to 36.66666 or 37.
Fantastic.
So it is basically 3 3/4 star. Almost 4 stars. I can't remember if I round 37. Because it's 36, I'd probably round this to 35 and not, yeah. So this would be 3.5 stars out of 4 for your social gathering event. But that is where we're at on Dark Crystal. Any final thoughts on that?
I just got a quick question for you guys.
Yeah.
What the hell was going on with Chamberlain when he started getting stripped down? What in the absolute hell was going on there? He was screaming like they were doing stuff
That
they
scene
shouldn't
was
be doing.
that scene was another one of those that I was like, this is kind of disturbing. This is scary. There were quite
part
a
of that
few.
installation of fear in children to the
Mhm.
fact that everything can be stripped away from you at a moment's notice.
This is a children's horror movie.
Consequence of failure and being cast out.
Yeah,
It's a hard thing to see when you're being attacked by the only people you know in this place that you've been in for over 1,000 years and getting kicked the fuck out. That's a pretty scary situation to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best children's horror movie is still Monster House, but this is a pretty close second. Monster House is amazing.
Monster House is good stuff.
It's so good. All right. We ready to read us out, Jonathan?
Let's get at it, Kevin. So, folks, that wraps up our journey through the mystical, sometimes terrifying world of the Dark Crystal.
A world of puppets, prophecy, and maybe more nightmare fuel than anyone actually bargained for.
True. Whether you saw it as a childhood wonder or a childhood trauma, it's undeniable that Henson and Company gave us something unlike anything else in fantasy canon.
And that's exactly why it's still worth talking about today. Even if I don't love the movie, everybody should see this movie once. And hey, if you're loving these deep dives into nostalgia and nightmare fuel, check out some of my books on Amazon under Timothy James. The link is in the YouTube thing below.
Right. So we don't say it enough. Support indie creators. It means the world to them. And speaking of support, huge thanks again to Evan from the Kilt and the Redneck Podcast for hanging out with us tonight.
Hey, I appreciate you guys every time that you guys let me get on here and shoot the shit with you guys. It's always a good time.
We love having you, and you're usually hanging out in the comments with us, even if you aren't a guest. So comment section was quiet tonight without you in there.
Well, I'll be back for the next episode that you guys do. Not on here, of course, with you guys, but I'll get on there and I'll review.
I do believe the next one is. I'm super excited because this is one. The Neverending Story is the movie that I grew up watching like weekly. I watched that movie all the time, but I haven't seen it in decades. So I am curious to see if the revisit, am I disappointed or do I love it? Am I ready to cry when the horse dies in the quicksand?
Oh, don't talk about Artax right now. Come on.
Yeah, when I am ready to cry about Artax. Anyways, Evan, we couldn't have done it without you. Now, don't forget to like this stream, hit that subscribe button, and ring that little bell so you don't miss the next episode of our childhood fantasy series talking about the Neverending Story.
That's right. We still got a lot of wild ones to come. You're not going to want to miss it.
I think Travis from the nightclub is our guest for the Neverending Story.
Ooh.
So that'll be a fun one. So,
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is The Average, where the real review happens with your friends.